Welcome to the Football Expert, the voice for college football and your home for NFL draft analysis, game breakdowns, bold predictions, scouting reports, and so much more. This is the ultimate destination for any college football fan looking for community here on YouTube. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so that way you never miss another video. And join the college football community all the way from California, Texas, Illinois, Michigan, and all the way here to South Carolina. Let's get to the video. Break. Welcome back to this video. We are back here, the Football Expert, the American Football Network. We finally have a video that we've had the opportunity to do. It's been a little while.
Yes.
But before I get into it too much, make sure that you hit the subscribe button on my channel and on the American Football Network's channel, whichever one you're watching. And go over to the other one. But yeah, SEC preview today, prediction. This should be a fun one. We'll see. Probably an hour and a half long. Is what
I think so. Yeah. I know. I'm glad we're finally able to. I think we've been talking about trying to do this video for like a month and a half now, and just busy lives can't get to it. But I'm glad we finally got around to it. Can finally knock this thing out and get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
And tell you what we think about the SEC coming up. So. You want to start us off at number 16?
Let's do it. Number 16, Arkansas. Arkansas is a pretty bad team with honestly what I thought was a pretty subpar hiring. From my understanding, Arkansas wanted Golish, and I don't know if I didn't hear anything, but I don't know if they went after Eric Morris at North Texas. And if they didn't, that's horrible.
Oh,
Like why are we going after Ryan Silverfield at Memphis, who – what is it, like 9 games was his most wins at Memphis? I'm like, not that North Texas is a better program, but that I just don't like that. Arkansas, bottom of the conference, and I just don't think it's close, honestly.
Yeah, I agree, and which is very disappointing to say because I was very high, I wouldn't say high, optimistic with Sam Pittman picking up Taylon Green, and that whole thing. I was optimistic for them going through that, and it was just everything just kind of went wrong for them. They lost every one possession game they played pretty much and just turned into a dumpster fire. Pittman's out the door, and now a subpar hiring. Just don't think Arkansas has a lot going for them. 15, we got Kentucky. I'm interested in this one. Their head coach has been doing it. He's kind of bringing that Kirk Cignetti vibe to him, the Google Me thing. We'll see what happens with Kentucky, but I just don't see a lot of talent on that football team and a pretty difficult schedule for them as well. I don't see them having much success this year in the SEC. I think they're going to get, like they do most years, beat down pretty hard with that SEC schedule. So I think Kentucky has some hope, but it's very slim.
Yeah, and with the Kentucky pick, honestly, my thing for being high, or at least why I think they could be higher. I'm not saying they're going to be higher, but I could see them being higher. And the reason would be Kenny Minchie and Will Stein. Will Stein's a great quarterback developer. He was at UTSA before he was at Oregon, which I thought was such an interesting dynamic, him and Jeff Traylor.
I can't remember his first name, but Harris, his last
Frank
name.
Harris.
Frank Harris, that's right.
The 7-year, 8-year quarterback.
Yeah, turned him into one of the top group of 5 quarterbacks in the country back at UTSA, so yeah.
Yeah, did magical things at Oregon, finds himself at Kentucky. So if he could do in between Dante Moore and Frank Harris with Kenny Minchie, which I think they work well together.
I do too.
I think all three of those quarterbacks are very similar. Obviously, Kenny Minchie hasn't got a ton of playing time, which is where I question it. But that's with me. Number 14, Mississippi State. I'm not high on Miss State. Honestly, I could see Kentucky going above them. I want to like Miss State because they're honestly one of the most fun programs, one of the most entertaining schools. The cowbell thing is just cool. When they almost beat Texas last year, that was fun. But they just don't see – I just don't see the pieces on the roster, and I just don't think Jeff Levy's a very good head coach. So.
I don't either. I think he's one of the top offensive coordinators in the country, a great offensive mind, but I don't see him being a good head coach. And it hasn't worked out well so far with him at Mississippi State. Could they win 6-7 games? Yes, but I still think they finish to the bottom of the SEC because I think majority of those wins become out of conference.
Yeah.
So this is the team I could see making a bowl game, but I don't see them really doing much in the SEC. I could see them higher than 14, kind of like Kentucky. I could see them moving up, but I don't think they get any higher than about 12. Also, by the way, this is the list we're going through with these
Yeah,
rankings. Is
yeah.
I made a list, he made a list, we averaged them and threw them in. So you'll see some of them like there might be two twos or two tens,
Yeah.
whatever,
Hmm.
that we've got coming up. It was just our list combined together. But yeah, so moving on to I guess 13. We got two 12s right
Yeah.
here, but I
Hmm.
had South Carolina at 13. I think we have Missouri and South Carolina flipped.
Yeah.
I think there.
Hmm.
I had South
Yeah.
Carolina at 13. Not really high on them. I think Sellers in that offense can do some things, and it all comes down to him and what version of it. Do you get last year's version or
Hmm.
uh, what year was that? 24. You get
Yeah.
24's version of him. What are we going to see out of Sellers? I think that's where it starts, and that offensive line getting some help for him because that's one thing he's never had at
Hmm.
South Carolina is a good offensive line. He just gets killed every single game, and in 24 he was able to make a lot of stuff happen
Yeah.
from those broken plays and guys free rushing, and particularly against my team Clemson, killed him with that. Could not tackle the dude. But last year we didn't see that at all. There was a lot
Hmm.
less of those big runs, which I think from watching him last year, he was a little banged up and wasn't 100% throughout the season. But Nick Harbor seems to be looking good so far in camp, catching the ball with his hands actually,
Yeah.
and not his chest or face mask. So if he can he took a good step last year. If he can take another step, and you got uh, Jaden Sellers as well at receiver. So I mean, they got some pieces. Dylan Stewart on the D line, but I feel like they just lost a lot in that secondary last year. We'll just see what they are. I don't have much hope in them.
Yeah, when looking at these two teams, I'm much lower on Missouri than most people are. I think Drinkowitz is honestly, I don't think he's overrated, but I just don't know if he can get to the next level at Missouri. He's been good. He's done the right things. Bo Prabula obviously last year didn't work out with him. Bringing in Austin Simmons, the quarterback that
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to be the starter at Ole Miss, got injured, and then Trinidad Chambliss never let go of the job.
Yeah.
I just Missouri's just one of those teams that they do better than I expect, but I just can never expect them to do better because they
Mm-hmm.
don't have the roster talent. And it's not like the roster talent's gotten better. It's good. Like Ahmad Hardy at running back is one of the best running backs in the
Mm-hmm.
SEC, up there with Jaden Ball in Florida. But the problem is the offensive line is like
And
they have some
there's
players.
no other weapons on that
No,
offense.
yeah.
All the attention's on him.
Yeah, and looking at South Carolina, I think a lot of your points are valid, and I think that this team they have a lot of pressure on three guys:
Mm-hmm.
Nick Harbor, Lenore Sellers, and Dylan Stewart.
Yeah.
If Dylan Stewart does not have a second on the defensive line like he did the first year, his
Mm-hmm.
freshman year, he was fantastic his freshman year because he had a guy that could take off some of the pressure from him because he makes the second guy look awesome. He's getting double teamed with the chip block on there from the tight end.
Mm-hmm.
So he's slowing everything down. The problem with South Carolina is it's a lot of boomer bust. Is Lenore Sellers going to be the best quarterback in college football, which he can be, or is he going to be an average SEC quarterback? And if he's an average SEC quarterback, that team around him is not good enough to carry, especially that offensive line. As we move to number 11, Vanderbilt is in that spot. Honestly, Vanderbilt, it's a down season for Vanderbilt, and they're only in number 11. What a job that Clark Lee has done there at Vanderbilt.
He's really turned that program around, and I'm blanking on the name. 5-star quarterback coming
Jared
in.
Curtis.
Jared Curtis. I was thinking Kurt. Jared Curtis. I'm interested to see what he can do. I mean, we saw what Diego Pavia did in this scheme for, 8 years?
Yeah.
In
Well,
his
that at
college.
New Mexico State.
Yeah. So I think Curtis is in a position, is going to be in a spot at Vanderbilt where he can be successful. I think it'd be interesting to see what he does. He's a little bit of a different player than Pavia is, but I think he's a very talented. I mean, he's number one quarterback recruit in the country last year, so he's obviously very talented. And I think Vanderbilt has some good pieces around, but I do think they lost a lot, and I think that Curtis will struggle in his first year at times, up and down, particularly in those big SEC games. And Vanderbilt doesn't have a super favorable schedule.
Yeah.
It's not the most difficult one in the SEC, but it's also not an easier one also. So, I think that I could see Vanderbilt moving up though. We made this list like a month ago, and looking now, the next team for me is Auburn.
Yeah.
I probably would have Vanderbilt above Auburn looking at it today. But yeah, I think all these teams right here, like 10 through 14, I could just see finishing in any order in that range.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say about Vanderbilt, I don't know if you've heard, but there's some rumors coming out of camp. Blaze Berkowitz could be the starter, the guy that we thought, well, 5-star Jared Curtis coming in. He may be the start. It's the beginning of fall camp, so you never know what's going to end up happening. But I will say, here's my take on Vanderbilt when it comes to the pieces they lost last season, and I think you'll agree with me. The problem is not losing Pavia. They can replace Pavia.
Yeah.
The problem is losing Eli Stowers.
Mm-hmm.
Stowers is a problem, and a guy the same way that Dylan Stewart is on a defense or Lenore Sellers is on an offense or whatever. He's just a matchup nightmare, and there's nobody that you could put one guy on him and he's going to be able to beat him. Like, you got to put two guys on him, or you have to put him bracketed in a zone, or you have to figure out what you're doing with him. And I don't think Vanderbilt has a way to replace him, because I don't think almost anybody in the country could have replaced a guy like that.
No, so. I mean, you're looking at Ohio State, Georgia, Texas as far as teams that could replace losing Stowers. And that's why I think Curtis will struggle this year, because there's going to be – that defense isn't going to be able to keep them in games as much. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be a bad defense. Yeah. Clark Lee is one of the best defensive minds in the country. But just looking – at what they have defensively, this defense isn't going to be holding teams and keeping them in the game as much as it was if the offense isn't performing, which puts a lot more pressure on this offense. And I think that is where Curtis will struggle a little bit with all that pressure. But moving on, so my number 10 is Auburn. I look at Auburn's a train wreck. I think they do have a little bit of an easier schedule. That's why I have them at 10. I think they have some pieces that they can work with and potentially be something. I'm blanking on their running back's name, but I'm a big fan of him. I can't think of his name. I can see him right now, but I
can't think of his name.
I can't think of the dude's name.
I should know this name because I did an Auburn preview, but this was a while back. You go ahead. I'll look.
I can't think of the running back's name, but I like him. I think that he's good, and he's the only standing guy that is still on the team from the Hugh Freeze and all that stuff. That whole mess.
We have Bryce Washington, the transfer from Baylor. We have Jeremiah Cobb, the senior that comes back.
Cobb, yeah.
And then Alvin Henderson, the freshman.
I like Cobb a lot, and I think that he's gonna. I think he can help carry this offense a little bit.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with him. I think Auburn got a good hire this past offseason, so I'm optimistic about Auburn, but I think they are in a bit of a train wreck right now as a program status.
I'll ask this question because I don't know whether you and I agree. I don't think we've even talked about this before. Which coach has more success as a head coach at their stop, depending on how long they're there? Alex Golesh or John Summerall? Because the other 10 team that we have is Florida. So we have these teams very close.
That's a good question because I look at both of those guys, and it might just be because both of them went from group of 5 head coaches to kind of, historic powers in the SEC to a degree, but train wrecks at the moment. I think Summerall is the guy, though, that I think is going to have more success. Just strictly, I love the dude's attitude that he comes into those press conferences and everything with. I like his attitude. I like the way he carries himself, and I like his routines. I think he's a guy. He's gonna be successful. Like he's just not gonna settle for anything less. He's willing to do whatever it takes to be successful. So I think Summerall is gonna be the more successful. But I'm optimistic about Golesh, and I think that he can be successful as well. I would just, if I'm having to bet my money on it, I would bet it on Summerall.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And what I would say with this, I was listening to a video before. I forget who it was. It was somebody at On 3. If Auburn and Florida finish in the same spot, I feel like that looks worse on Alex Golesh because Alex Golesh brought almost everybody over from USF. John Summerall really did not bring anybody over from Tulane. I think he brought a punter and a kicker. Alex Golesh brings over Byron Brown, and Byron Brown is supposed to be a very good quarterback in the SEC, and I think he could be. The problem is how good is the defensive and offensive line?
I mean, he did light Florida up last year.
It's true. It's true.
With South Florida, so I think he can play in the SEC, but we'll just have to see
consistently if he can do it.
Week in, week out, what he looks like. But moving on, we have number 8, Tennessee. I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, Tennessee, I think, is a very interesting team because a similar quarterback battle to what we talked about Not only you have Florida's quarterback battle
Mm-hmm.
between, I'm blanking on their names. The transfer from Georgia Tech, that was the black Sims. It was something Sims, right?
No, that was a long
No,
time.
that's
Jeff
Jeff
Sims
Sims.
was a long time ago.
What was his name?
I'll look this one up for you.
Okay, so we have the quarterback battle at Florida, and then we have a quarterback battle at Tennessee. We have, why am I blanking on everybody's names now? There's too many players going on in my mind at once.
Through Florida, it is Aaron Philo and Tremel Jones Jr.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Aaron Philo, the quarterback from Georgia Tech, which I don't know why I mixed that up with Sims, but Philo, I think, is going to win that job. He seems like the better quarterback, or at least has more experience than the other guy.
Yeah, I think so.
And then Tennessee's battle, you have the freshman quarterback coming in who seems to be playing better that I cannot. What's his name?
Faison Brandon.
Faison Brandon, and then George McIntyre.
Yeah.
George McIntyre. He's the sophomore, so he's been a year into the system. I think Faison Brandon will win this battle.
I think so.
And if Faison Brandon wins this battle, I do give Tennessee a little bit of a cushion.
Mm-hmm.
That if they finish 8, are Tennessee fans going to be happy? No, not at all. They're not going to be happy at all. But are Tennessee fans going to be forgiving enough that if Faison Brandon looks good this year, he may, well, if he finishes 8th, maybe they finish like 4th or 6th next year, or 4th or 3rd next year.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the jump that Tennessee fans want to see.
I think so. Yeah, I think Tennessee's going to be in a good spot with Brandon. I think, like you said, he gives you that cushion to where, because I don't think Tennessee's finishing higher than 8th, regardless of who the quarterback ends up being.
Yeah.
I think this is about where they're going to be at. Maybe 7th, maybe they can sneak into 6th, but 6 is like ceiling for them. So
yeah,
and I think that's regardless of who the quarterback is. So I think you're right. Faison at least gives them something to be excited about, and if he can look good enough, it'll be enough for Tennessee fans to stay optimistic for next year.
Yeah.
So moving on, we have how many? 3 at number 6.
Yep.
I think I had Alabama at 7.
Yeah.
I'm not high on Bama. I think losing Ty Simpson, losing Jeremy Bernard, all those guys defensively. I haven't liked the job that Kalen DeBoer's done there.
Yeah.
I feel like he's really I don't even think they've looked like a playoff team the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They've just been in just because they're Alabama and all the great stuff Nick Saban did there, which obviously clearly as we've seen the results doesn't matter anymore. And so I just don't think DeBoer has what it takes to follow behind Saban, which I don't know if there's anybody in the country that does outside of maybe a guy like Kirby Smart. And even then, I think it would be tough for him too. So I'm just not high on Bama. I just don't think they're going to have the pieces to really be successful. I think there's just too many other teams in the SEC that have more. So I'm not high on Bama this year. I think 7th would be about where they finish.
So let me ask you this question: 9-3, which is I think where this has to be for Alabama to finish at 6. 9-3, 8-4. Does 9-3 get Kalen DeBoer fired?
I think it depends on who's on the market and who Bama thinks they can go and get.
Well, I feel like Bama thinks they can go and get anybody outside of maybe Kirby Smart is the only thing that Bama fans think they can get. But outside of that, Bama fans probably are – I'm sorry, but Bama fans are probably delusional enough that they think Marcus Freeman or Ryan Day could come there. And it's like that's not happening.
Because those guys – I'm trying to think because, like, those guys aren't going.
Nope.
I don't. Dan Lanning's not going. Sark's not going, and Sark might not even be an upgrade. I mean, he's recruiting better, but his results are still about the same as
until Texas gets past. Like they got to the game against Ohio State, but they got to the game against Ohio State because they barely beat a not great Clemson team. They barely beat Arizona State, who should not have been that force.
They got helped out in that Arizona State game. Arizona State should have been playing Ohio State in that game.
To be fair, those girls were icing Bert Aubrey at that field goal.
Yeah.
So they should have won the game beforehand. So.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's like they've. I don't know who they. I mean, maybe Dabo, but I really don't see Dabo. I think Dabo retires before he leaves Clemson. I don't think he's leaving Clemson. And honestly,
could you imagine
after the season he had last year? I don't know if Bama would even be interested in him.
No.
I wouldn't think they would. I mean, so who's left?
Because Bama, I don't feel like is an upgrade from the jobs that we just mentioned: Georgia, Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, is Notre Dame, is even. Michigan equal to that? Because I feel like it used to be that Notre Dame was in that tier, but I feel like with the new facilities and where Marcus Freeman has brought the program, I think they've jumped into the tier along with Oregon and the facilities that they have. How about this? This would be the craziest of moves. I have an idea, and I know we're getting off track. Let's take this.
We tend to.
We always do at some point. 10-2. This team goes 10-2. They make the college football playoffs. They get to the.
I'm assuming they beat Auburn, right?
No, not Alabama. Not Alabama.
Oh, you're
this is
talking
a
about
different
Michigan.
team. No, this is a different team.
entirely. Okay.
This team makes the playoffs, gets to the semifinals, loses the semifinals because, of course, this coach loses the semifinals. Lincoln Riley at USC, does he get hired as Kalen DeBoer's replacement? Could you imagine how mad?
I don't think he would take it.
Yeah.
Because if you go 10-2 and lose in the semifinals at USC this year, he's locked in there for a while. I feel like that really. I don't think he's on a hot seat right now, but that puts the hot seat out of question for a couple years.
Yeah.
Because he's never been a guy who's going to go out there and win 6 games this
because
year.
He did run away from Oklahoma.
Yeah. He's always going to win you 8 or 9 games.
Yeah.
Even in this new revamped, much tougher Big Ten. So I think if he can win 8, 9 games every year, and he has a year like that, he's going to be safe in his job security for at least 5 years to come from that. And looking back at what we were talking about too, it's gonna be hard for him to find somebody because I think even a guy like that, I think Clemson is a better job than Alabama is in terms of for Dabo.
In terms of for Dabo,
it is because
they still have the facilities that are.
They have all the facilities that are equal to any other team in the country, and look what he's done here. He's never gonna leave. They will never force him out. So he's job for lifetime contract. So I think Clemson is a better spot for Dabo than Bama would be because why would you leave?
Yeah. No, I would agree with that but you know who I could see if my prediction is right and they fire him out of the box pick, very out of the box pick, but Syracuse goes 9-3. Syracuse makes the ACC championship, and because of Syracuse, they screw Miami out of an ACC championship again, and therefore make the playoffs, maybe win a game. Does Syracuse and Fran Brown take that job?
Possibly, but that situation is not happening at all. Not a chance.
Probably not true.
I would bet on Georgia Tech winning a national championship before I bet on Syracuse going 9-3 winning the ACC in a playoff game.
You know what? That feels like an interesting one that we'd have to talk about after this.
The problem is neither one of them are ever going to happen, so nobody would ever owe anybody any money.
That's true.
But moving on from the Alabama thing, real quick, I do want to throw in one guy who's on the market and unemployed right now that I would love.
There's no way.
That I would love to see take this Alabama job is Mike Gundy.
No.
I would love to see Gundy get hired at Alabama as DeBoer. There's no way they hire the dude, but I would love to see it.
Could you imagine a same league with Mike Leach and Mike Gundy in the same league together? That would have been wild. Yeah.
I
mean, maybe Gundy was there when Leach was at Texas Tech because Gundy was there forever.
He might have been, yeah.
But they weren't big enough. No. I guess Gundy did have the. If
I'm
you
a
want
man.
to come at, I'm 40.
Yeah.
That was one of the best clips of all time. But yeah, going back to Alabama, another quarterback battle. Keelan Russell, Austin Mack. I think Keelan Russell does have that job.
I think so.
Alabama's past the era of white quarterbacks that can't run.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't think Russell's gonna. I think he's gonna be a.
Well, what's the run game look like for Alabama this year? Because I don't think they have a run game, and therefore, if they don't have a run game, you got a Keelan Russell quarterback that does not have a running back, that has a decent offensive line, but are the wider outside of what did he change his name to? The wider
Ryan Williams something. Yeah,
Ryan Williams something. Just like he needs to change his last name too. Ryan Williams something. Outside of him, does Bama really have a secondary threat to Ryan
And even
Williams?
him, what has he ever done in his college career other than a few highlight plays and a couple big games that has just blown him up? But he's done nothing since, and he's irrelevant.
And I'm guilty of this. everybody put Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams on the same pedestal after the Georgia game.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that they should have been nowhere close to each other.
I'm proud to say I never once considered Ryan Williams the same level as Jeremiah Smith. I will say I did think Ryan Williams was a good receiver, but after this past year, he's an average receiver in the SEC.
Yeah.
Texas has 5 dudes on that roster that's better than Ryan Williams.
Well, Texas buys 40 million players.
They do. But it's I'm just like, if this is the best receiver Alabama has, Texas has 5 dudes that are better than him.
Well, we're in an NIL era that I feel like, and Clemson has felt this, and Notre Dame has felt this in different ways. We're in an NIL era. The reason why the North is winning is the same reason why we won the Civil War. We have more money. Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State, and Indiana all have dramatically more money because those schools would not have donors that would risk going to jail for their teams to get money. But Alabama and Auburn and Florida and LSU, and I'm not saying I know things. I don't know things, but I can at least read between the lines be like, these donors at these schools would care enough to risk stuff. To go to give money to their team, which is the reason why the SEC was so dominant, I feel like, and the reason why the northern teams, and the reason why I think Notre Dame and Ohio State are by far the best chances to win the playoff is because they have the money to get away with it. It's the same reason why Texas, they're a southern state, but Texas has the money. They have the backing. Not the same way that Alabama does not have the donors that are Mark Cuban, that are billionaires, same way that Indiana does. That's the reason. People forget Kirk Cignetti is a winner. But Kirk Cignetti would not win more than 9 games the same way that Tom Allen did that one time. Because Kirk Cignetti is good, he'd be more consistent. But if he doesn't have the money, he doesn't have the money.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day,
and that's what it's come down to, is just who has the money and who can get the. Now, obviously, the money and all of it. You still got to get the right guys in and get the right scheme in.
There's the same reason why Oregon hasn't won anything.
Yeah. But the money's a lot of it. Yeah. So now moving on to, I guess we
Ole Miss.
Technically had Bama, Ole Miss, and LSU were all at 6. I had Bama at 7. But
I feel like this is fair order outside of if they're tied. I think Ole Miss has beaten LSU. I feel like Ole Miss fans are going to be very upset with us if we have them below LSU.
Yeah.
So they're tied.
Yeah, they're tied.
Because Ole Miss and LSU, that game in week 3 is going to be just silly.
Oh, yeah.
It's just going to be silly.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for it. And I think Ole Miss, they're one of those teams. I'm gonna be honest. I think they have a lot of talent. I think in 2 years from now, Pete Golding doesn't have a job there because he's a horrible head coach. And he even looked last year. He did all of that in the playoff with Kiffin's offensive staff.
Yeah.
Without those guys, Ole Miss doesn't win a game in the playoff. And they don't make it like they did. So I don't think Golden is a very good head coach at all. I just don't believe in his schemes and his strategies, none of it when it comes to being a head coach.
Yeah.
So I think he's got enough talent that he's going to be good enough this year. And I think Ole Miss is going back to the playoff this year, but I think once these guys are gone with Chambliss and Lacey and some of those other guys they got in there, I think he's really going to struggle the following year after.
Yeah. I agree with all those points. Getting into LSU, Lane Kiffin, does LSU make the playoffs? Because I don't know if they do. I feel like they beat Clemson. I feel like they win that game, which is the reason I think Clemson's ranked, is to give LSU a week 1 win to make it.
That's the first thing I thought of when I saw Clemson come in the polls at 23 was it's the first week of August and they're already starting the SEC propaganda. How can we get them in? Because then if they beat Clemson, that's a ranked win. If they lose to Clemson, which I don't think is out of the cards for this game. I mean, LSU does have 40 brand new players coming in.
Who knows how
Kiffin
good Sam
historically
Leavitt
hasn't been good in week 1 at his new schools. Sam Leavitt, who knows what he is. So and Clemson's another team. I mean, who knows what the world they're going to be.
True.
So I don't think it's out of the question.
But
I think it backs them up too. If Clemson were to go in there and win and then still not be a very good team, they still have it. Well, LSU lost to a ranked Clemson team in week 1.
And it was week 1, and who cares if it was week 1?
Exactly.
Week
They're already starting the propaganda, and we haven't even played the games yet.
Yeah.
And just listen. If you just listen to Sankey's comments at SEC Media Day, you see exactly what they're trying to do. And that's what it's come to because they don't win anymore. So they try to change the rules and they try to just feed you all this BS propaganda because to distract you from the fact that they don't win anymore. Though we play the hardest schedules, we have the toughest conference, which is fine to say when you're winning every national championship. But when you haven't won anything, nobody cares if you play the hardest schedule anymore. You're not winners.
Your SEC champion, which has been Georgia the last 2 years, has not made it out of the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Your SEC champion has not made it out of the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
And Alabama, in my opinion, and I think you would maybe even agree with me, or at least have it 50-50, Notre Dame, I think, should have been over Alabama. At least if Notre Dame versus Alabama was the conversation, look how much.
I would put BYU in. I would have put BYU in over Alabama. They destroyed everybody all year long except for one team that beat them twice, and that was a top 5 team all year long.
And again, the week 1 excuse. Well, Alabama lost to Florida State, and Florida State was awful the entire season.
Awful.
Like there's no reason that we should. And here's my argument for reason why Notre Dame should have been not over Miami, but over Alabama. Alabama had a week 1 loss to Florida State. Notre Dame's 2 week 1 losses and week 2 losses were to 2 top 5 teams that were in the playoff, and possibly A&M would have gone further if they didn't play Miami.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that this is, and I'm not making the point about Notre Dame really. I'm making the point about Alabama is that you really only should have 2 SEC teams in it, and 2 SEC teams in the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I mean, with how much they talk, and I mean, just look at did you hear the Brett Bielema comment? The 2005, like we're living in a reality that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. So moving on now to number 4, we have Oklahoma.
Yep.
I think Oklahoma is an interesting team.
Oh yeah.
Batir, super inconsistent, solid quarterback, just super inconsistent. You never knew what you're going to get out of him each week. So if he can find a way to be consistent, Venables has got his guys in there now. That defense is stout.
Oh yeah.
I think Oklahoma is going to be a solid team this year, and I don't believe they have a very tough SEC schedule either. I mean, obviously they play Texas.
Yeah.
I know they play South Carolina. I'm not exactly sure. I can't quite remember who else they're going to play, but pulling the schedule up now. Yeah, right here, UTEP at Michigan. That one will be a very interesting game. I am excited to see that one with Kyle Whittingham coming into the Michigan. Yeah, and they've got that'll be a fun game. Then New Mexico, they do play at Georgia. Then they get a bye week before the Texas game, which is nice. And then the last half of that schedule is pretty smooth. I mean, even the tough games are at home. Kentucky at home, at Miss State, South Carolina at home. At Florida could be a little tricky, but Ole Miss and A&M at home, then at Missouri. I think that this could be a very favorable schedule for Oklahoma. I think that this is going to be a very good team this year, and I think they're going to finish. I would say this is probably going to be a top 8, top 10 team.
Yeah, and it's hard not to say Georgia is going to win the SEC again because Georgia is so consistent. But if I had a hot take for the SEC, I'd say Oklahoma wins the SEC.
And I can see it.
I think that it's very possible because let's say they beat Texas and then they're 8-1 in SEC play. Well, then they're going to play probably Georgia again, and the second time a team plays again, they generally lose if they won the first matchup.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter whether both teams are good or both teams are even. Generally, that other team wins a matchup.
Yeah.
So I could see it. Tied for number 2, we have both the Texas schools, so both of them are furious at us right now.
Oh, yeah, they are. A&M, I think they got a lot to replace, especially defensively. But I think Marcel Reed, he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in this conference. And so I think, but I still have A&M below Texas.
Yeah.
Just because I mean, look how bad Texas was. Bad. We said bad. I mean, it's great for a lot of teams, but for Texas and their standards, they were bad last year. Look how good A&M was last year, and they still could not beat Texas. So until they can beat Texas, I'm not picking them over Texas in anything. I don't even care if it's women's basketball, swimming. I don't care. Until A&M can beat Texas in football, I'm not picking them to win anything over Texas. So I have A&M there, but I still think A&M is going to be a very good team. I think they're going to be a playoff team again this year. I like Elko and what he's doing there. I think they've built a great program. So I I like that team a lot. I think that they're gonna do good. I just have them below Texas because until they beat them, I can't pick them over them.
Yep, and this is the reason why I have Texas A&M over Texas. I think we have them like 2 and 3 each, so it's just tied.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why. I think Marcel Reed is a better quarterback than Arch Manning, and I think Marcel Reed makes the plays that Arch Manning can't. Why is Arch Manning a top 5 player in college football? And what game that we have seen has he ever played like a top 5 player?
We haven't seen it, but I do think this is going to be the year it comes together for him. I think he's going to look a little bit better. And I also think, too, when you look at Texas and how much talent, I know they've had talent all these years, but this year they have more than they ever have. And when you look at what they've got this year, if he just plays average, Texas is a top 5 team in the country just because of what's around. All he has to do is play average, and they got enough talent around him to pick him up, and for them to go on a huge run, and be a great team. And when you look at their schedule too, it's pretty favorable. Texas State week 1, Ohio State at home, which I could very easily see them winning. I think I would pick Ohio State, but I could see Texas winning that game. Yeah. UTSA on the road at Tennessee, bye week, Oklahoma at home, Florida at home, Ole Miss, well, Oklahoma will be in Dallas. Yeah. But Florida at home, Ole Miss at home, Mississippi State at home, at Missouri, at LSU, Arkansas at home, at A&M. So they don't have a tough schedule whatsoever. They get Ole Miss at home, and they get Oklahoma at the neutral site. They got to go on the road to Tennessee, which could be difficult a little bit. At LSU could be a little tricky. Like, I think it's a very manageable schedule, especially when you add in all the talent that they have. I think that it's a very favorable schedule that Texas pulled.
Yep, and that leads us number 1. We did it in almost 40 minutes. I'm pretty happy with ourselves. Only one tangent that we got.
I know.
It was a long tangent.
I'm pretty impressed. I was expecting minimum 45 minutes.
Yep.
Well, we're not done yet. We still got time to get there.
Let's finish this. Number 1, Georgia. We're done. No, I'm joking. Number 1, Georgia. Until somebody else beats Georgia, I think that this is an easy win for Georgia in the SEC. At least they have all the games at home that they need to have at home. They do play Alabama on the road. But,
which has been their kryptonite, and I could see Bama I know we talk bad about Bama. I could see them beating it just because whatever it is,
2-1 against
whatever it is that game just gets in Kirby's head and gets in Georgia's head, and I don't know what it is, but I'm there with you. I think you got to have Georgia 1 until somebody proves you differently. It's Georgia, Texas A&M, might even be able to throw Oklahoma up there. They're all kind of in that same kind of spot. Tier. I would say Oklahoma's below, but they're all kind of in that same little group. But again, I'm not picking Sarkisian or Elko to win an SEC championship over Kirby Smart until they do it. So that's just kind of how I sit on it. When you can't figure it out, go with who's shown you what they can do.
Here's my final question as we wrap up our SEC prediction and preview. SEC, what's the farthest team make it? Because last year, the only reason the team made it to the semifinals was because one had to.
Yeah.
In the Ole Miss and our Georgia game.
Yeah, the way they had it. I mean, that's tough because you look at the Big Ten. Indiana's going to be back.
Yep.
Ohio State's always there.
Yep.
I don't think Miami's going anywhere. Mm-hmm. Or you got Oregon who could be in there.
Notre Dame's probably in there.
Yeah,
and
I could see those being in there.
5 teams right there. If those are the 5 teams, then nobody makes it from the semifinals.
But I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'll go Georgia. They've been down a little bit for their standards. I think Georgia gets back to the national championship this year.
Okay.
I think Kirby Smart and Gunnar Stockton get back to the national championship this year. And I think you see the Bulldogs in the national championship. Who they're going up against and if they're going to win it, no idea. But I think Georgia can get there. I think they get back.
Yep, and that's going to wrap it up today's video. I think that Georgia let me go through the list here real quickly. Georgia at 1, Texas and Texas A&M at 2 tied, Oklahoma at 4, LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama at 6, Tennessee at 8, Florida and at Auburn. I'm about to say Alabama. Florida and Auburn at 10.
Now you're really stirring them up here late.
Yeah. South Carolina at 12, Missouri at 12, Miss State at 14, Texas at Texas at 15 because they're all switching. Kentucky at 15 and Arkansas at 16. I'm very dyslexic. Well, that's going to wrap up today's video. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button on both channels. Hit the notification bell because college football season's back, baby.
That's right. We get college football in what? It's August the 9th.
Less than
20 days, isn't it?
Yeah, 20 yeah, because they play on the 26th.
28, yeah.
So, hey, college football is back. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Both the channels will be up at both of the videos. So just hit the subscribe button there, and we'll see you in the next one. See you guys.
See you guys.